Good afternoon and welcome to Green Valley, Arizona. I'm Kelly Galvin and I appreciate you watching and for your support. I titled today's Zoom presentation, Stuck at Home, Go Write Your Book. Perhaps you can take advantage of this time at home and the many available tools to write something from the heart. I created the Stuck at Home series of presentations as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the many stay-at-home orders issued by state governors. I hope this series provides some ideas on how to avoid cabin fever, regardless of how you became homebound. Anyway, my goal today is that I might inspire and motivate you to take advantage of the stay-at-home circumstances in which you find yourself. Me, I'm a retired Army officer, information technology professional, and most importantly for this presentation, a book author. My wife Sandy and I retired to Green Valley in 2004. Although Sandy is a poet, having written lyrics for several songs, she and I have collaborated in the past on a novel and a collection of our writings. However, in July this year, Kohler Books will be publishing the novel I wrote in the summer of 2019, PowerPoint Ranger, My Iraq War Logs. I hope you can stop by the book website of the same name to check it out. The key to that last statement is I wrote the book last summer. May through October of 2019 provided me with a dedicated writing opportunity while Sandy and I were essentially homebound dealing with a breast cancer battle. Other than medical appointments, a grocery run, or a walk around the block, I stayed at home. I decided to make my homebound time as productive as possible by writing my novel. Now it seems the spring and summer of 2020 may provide a similar circumstance for everyone across the country. The COVID-19 pandemic, with stay-at-home orders being issued by most governors, creates a perfect opportunity for the author in you to go ahead, sit on your butt, and start writing. I'd like to add that there are many others who may be stuck at home for reasons other than the governor's order to do so. Perhaps you are a full or part-time caregiver for a loved one. Maybe you are newly unemployed or just closed your business. Another major reason people get stuck at home here in Green Valley is to convalesce after some major medical procedures like hip and knee replacements. Whatever your reason for being stuck at home, I'd like to challenge you to seize the moment and make it as productive as possible, aside, of course, from reorganizing your sock and underwear drawers. Let's face it, you need to choose to write, and writing can be very difficult. If you've ever watched a game of Texas Hold'em poker, you'll know what it means to be all in. I think that's the case with writing. I believe you have to choose to write and be all in when you make that decision. And once you make that decision, your next decision involves what to write. You may want to write a journal of your observations of what's happening day to day, or perhaps even hour by hour. There are some weight loss and smoking cessation regimens which use journaling to aid progress. Whereas a journal tends to be less opinionated and more objective in the writing of it, perhaps you want to be more subjective, personal, and opinionated, in which case a diary might be more to your liking. Consider a journal as a general record of things like a logbook, and a diary is more a record of personal and daily experiences. If you choose to write a book, you'll need to consider the type of book to write. Maybe it's time you wrote your autobiography for the children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren. A memoir is perhaps a subcategory of autobiography that might focus on a particular time or incident in your life. If you're a good at concocting stories, like being a fisherman, then you'll want to concentrate on writing fiction with all the requisite characters, plots, and scenes. Instead of trying to write an award-winning whodunit novel, writing a short story might be a good starting point. Short story or novel, it's all pretty much about length. A short story might take place over a period of time, hours, or mere days, whereas a novel might take place over a short period of time or decades of time. Regardless of what you decide, you have tools that you're going to need and are readily available. The first tool you'll need to begin writing is a personal motivation to write. And I think the next tool you'll need is your muse. Your muse is your spirit or source, which inspires you to write. Without some level of motivation and passion, writing may not be very fun. Then you have the physical tools you'll need for writing, and these include handheld journals, writing tablets, notepads, and a personal computer with a good word processing program like Microsoft Word. Don't forget a good printer with lots and lots of paper, unless you're really old school and have to dust off that Remington typewriter you've got stuck in a storage unit. Here in the digital age, you can take advantage of handheld recording devices like your phone or a digital voice recorder to make notes. In fact, there is voice recognition software in Microsoft Word and Google Docs, which will do the typing for you. You will need to do research. Back in college, I went to the library for my research, but now you have the internet with tremendously efficient software search engines like Google, DuckDuckGo, and Bing to quickly ferret out the documentation and answers. These are good browsers. Don't forget topical and news websites in your research too. Then you need to choose a writing method. There are no rules to a writing method because your writing narrative is what works best for you, not for me. I'll touch on a few ideas for you to consider. Draft and outline. This is a tried and true method which helps to organize your thoughts and your work as well as keep track of some ideas. Rough exploratory drafting. In this method, you might find out how you feel and your response to the words in front of you. It's a way to get your muse up and running. Beginning to end writing or linear thinking. You write from start to finish. It's pretty self-explanatory. Episodic or scenes. Where do these all fit? The beauty of this is you can write an episode or a scene without really knowing how it fits or where it will fit. That can come later, like pieces to a puzzle. And this is how I wrote my book last year. Nonstop or free writing. Writing groups and classes often use this method. Write what comes to your mind and keep writing. It may help to get the mind in sync with your hand. You may want to write in spurts or in sessions, but maybe you're the perfectionist who wants to refine each and every page before moving on to the next. And of course, you can use a professional editor. Don't worry about the punctuation or be overly concerned with grammar. You can use grammar tools or a professional editor to help focus and hone your writing. My editor, Mike Waits of Sticks and Stones Freelance Editing, provided me an invaluable service during the construction of my book last summer. Then you need to choose a writing style, of which there are four main types. Expository, where you explain or inform and is subject oriented. This could include scientific writing. Descriptive, where you focus on describing a character, an event, a scene, or an incident in very great detail. This might include poetry. Persuasive, where your intent is to convince your audience about your belief, a position, or a particular argument. Think attorney at law in a courtroom or an advertising marketing representative perspective. And then, of course, narrative, where the author is trying to set the stage and construct a complete story with character, plots, scenes, etc. So you've got a method and you've chosen a writing style. Now you need to get to work. Most writing begins with performing some type of research for your topic. This includes searching the internet and library, conducting interviews with knowledgeable people, performing site visits where possible, writing and recording your notes. This includes late at night too, as many times my muse woke me at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with the wording or answers I needed during the day. A good handheld digital recorder on the bedstand might keep you from getting out of the bed and off to your computer room. During research, you'll need to corroborate and verify your facts, details, and statements, and then document these in footnotes and glossary terms. Choose your writing platform. Using a computer keyboard is the most obvious for typing, tracking changes, and creating draft versions. However, you can also use the built-in voice recognition functions found in word processing software to do the typing for you. There's a bit of a learning curve with voice typing skills, but once learned, it can shave a lot of time off the manual labor. Some of you may want to handwrite your work. That's okay too, along with voice recordings and perhaps using a transcription service, like the doctor does in his medical office. But whatever platform you use, start writing. Once the writing begins, make sure you save your work and make backup copies. You don't want to have to rewrite because you didn't save it to a USB device, cloud account, or perhaps a network hard drive. You may also want to create versions of your work with different endings or plot twists. You will no doubt do endless proofing, reviewing, and editing to get everything the way you want. No amount of personal proofing and editing will catch all the grammar and typo mistakes. In that regard, an outside professional editor will give you an unbiased set of eyes to perform that function. Most word processing software provides a grammar, usage, and spell checker that performs on the fly as you type. However, Grammarly is a free online writing assistant, which can also provide a supplement to your word processor software. If you intend to publish your manuscript, you should research your intended publisher for their style guide standard to help you decide which one to use: the Associated Press or AP style book, or the Chicago Manual of Style. As you dive into your work, here are some things you should be concerned about while writing, especially if you are not used to sitting at a keyboard for extended periods of time. You have fatigue, and then, of course, orthopedic issues involving the back, neck, hand, and wrist. Then, plagiarizing content, which is failing to attribute to the work of others that you have borrowed from your research. Make sure that you attribute the work of others in your writing. Finding and maintaining your muse and creativity. Do what you need to do to keep your spirit in the game. And of course, there's always writer's block. My writer's block usually clears up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when inspiration revisits me. In summary, once you decide to write, keep going, don't quit. That's advice for everything in your life, of course. You may pause now and then to refresh and renew, but just make sure you pick it up again afterwards. If you make writing fun and perhaps a little challenging, rather than work, it'll keep you coming back to write. Thank you for your support, and please visit my website at powerpoint-ranger.com and look for my book, PowerPoint Ranger, My Iraq War Logs, on Kohler Books or Amazon in July 2020. You might also drop into the American Legion post here in Green Valley, post 131 or post 66 if you have the time. You might find me there. Charlie Mike, Roger out.